Hey guys, tonight we wake up in the middle of ancient Rome, year 95 CE to be precise, and you are not exactly a welcome guest. Imagine opening your eyes not in a cozy bed with your favorite plush nearby, but in a cramped, dusty upper floor of an insula, which is basically a rickety Roman apartment building, held together by wishful thinking and pigeon droppings. The air is thick with the smell of oil smoke unwashed bodies, and whatever died in the stairwell last week. Your back hurts from sleeping on straw. So old, it's developed its own ecosystem, and there's something crawling suspiciously close to your foot. The first thing you hear isn't birdsong. It's a baby screaming downstairs, a couple arguing in Latin, and someone violently throwing up in the alley outside. Welcome to the Eternal City. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And, hey, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your first breath makes you cough. There's smoke from a small clay lamp on a wobbly table next to a crust of what might be bread, and a chipped bowl containing... Is that lentils? Hard to tell. You stumble to your feet, your legs are sore. Your mouth feels like you chewed on a sand-dusted sock, and your clothes are definitely not yours. A rough tunic, threadbare and itchy. No phone, no wallet. No idea how you got here. You peer out a wooden shutter. Below the alley is bustling already, despite the sun barely cresting over the tiled rooftops. Vendors shouting, carts clattering, dogs barking at absolutely everything. You flinch as someone tosses the contents of a chamber pot out a window nearby that almost hit you. You're in a Roman insula, likely in the Subura district, the part of Rome where rents are cheap and buildings collapse often enough that people don't even blink anymore. Historians still argue whether these places were regulated at all or just fire hazards with windows. Spoiler, most burned down eventually. There's no time to process, because a door crashes open and a short, furious woman storms in. She's got a broom and zero patience. She speaks rapid Latin, but somehow you understand your brain seems to have been rewired. Maybe time travel comes with auto-translate. She thinks you're that new boy, and she shoves a wooden bucket into your hands. Water. Now. And if you take longer than Marcus did yesterday, I'll feed your tongue to the stray cats. You blink. She's not joking. So now you're navigating down a narrow staircase, trying not to trip over sleeping bodies. Outside, the noise hits you like a hammer. The city smells alive. Baking bread manure. Metal. Human sweat. Citrus. Peel. Sewage. It's a full sensory slap. You pass a man relieving himself into the street gutter, like it's no big deal, and two teens painting graffiti that reads roughly, Gaius smells like goat. Ah, ancient adolescence. A cart full of amphorae nearly runs you over as you dart across a street. You reach a public fountain, marveling for a second at the engineering. It's fed by aqueducts that carry water from miles away. That's the mainstream historical fact here. Roman aqueducts were marvels of efficiency, but the fringe bit. Some people believed the water carried spirits from the countryside, which is why they'd whisper blessings before drinking. You splash water into the bucket, the icy shock waking you fully. A man nearby is shaving his face with a bronze blade and humming a love song about a woman who stole his tunic. Your reflection in the water startles you. You look like a tired extra from a gladiator film. Carrying the heavy bucket back up the hill to the insula, you notice a man selling rats on a stick. Street food, apparently. Someone offers you a bite. You decline politely, then he laughs and eats it whole tail and all. You might not survive till lunch. Back at the tenement, you start cleaning. You scrub the stone floors while kids run around barefoot yelling about monsters in the walls. One of them solemnly tells you that a ghost lives behind the fireplace. His mother rolls her eyes, but her hand clutches a charm around her neck just a little tighter. Historians still argue whether most Romans genuinely believed in spirits, or just humored the stories to keep their kids from wandering into dark basements. By now, the building's heat is rising. It's only morning, but the sun's already glaring down, and there's no air conditioning, just the occasional draft if you're lucky. You wipe sweat from your forehead with the edge of your tunic, instantly regretting it. Because this fabric, it smells like it belonged to someone very sweaty, very long ago. Then you hear it a distant drumming. Not music, more like boots. Loud. Rhythmic. You peek through the window. A small formation of Roman soldiers is marching past their armor, clinking sandals, slapping the cobblestones. People move aside quickly. You spot someone not moving fast enough. A soldier knocks his bread out of his hands and keeps walking. No apology. As the day climbs toward noon, the woman who woke you announces you've been reassigned. You're needed at the market, she says. Don't come back without fish onions and garum. You nod like you understand. She narrows her eyes. And don't eat the figs again. I count them. You step out into the sun, squinting. The city is louder, hotter, more chaotic now. Your stomach growls, your feet already ache, and there's a suspicious stain spreading on your tunic. You've made it a few hours, but surviving the rest of the day. Let's just say, you haven't even seen the latrines yet. You trudge through the narrow, sun-drenched streets of Rome with a coin pouch tied tight at your waist, and a shopping list etched in panic into your brainfish, onions, garum. Easy, right. Except you have no idea where the market is. Everyone's speaking rapid-fire Latin with hand gestures that could mean hello or I'll strangle you, and there's a small, angry dog following you. You suspect he's not a fan of your sandals. The Subura district is waking up in full force now. The smells have intensified a combo of sweet, spiced wine-charred meat, hot stone, and sewage that punches you in the sinuses like a surprise uppercut. Above laundry flaps between buildings on long strings, and the buildings themselves seem to lean in, whispering gossip through cracked stone. You turn a corner, and bam, you're in it. The Forum Holatorium. The vegetable and fish market is alive. Shouting vendors. Women haggling with the power of 10 senators. Children darting between stalls. You see slabs of tuna on marble sardines glistening in the heat, and what may or may not be eel twitching in a wooden crate. A man slices into a fish with a knife that looks older than you. Our guts spilling onto the ground. You slip a little on fish goo. A shout to your left. Garum, best garum in all Latium. You follow the smell. Oh, dear listener, garum is not for the faint of nose. It's a fermented fish sauce beloved in Rome, and it smells like every regrettable decision you've ever made in the back of a warm car. But hey, this is your task. You approach the garum vendor, who hands you a small clay jug, eyes you up and down, and says something about your clumsy foreigner hands. You don't ask. You buy onions from a woman who keeps her wares in little cloth bundles and insists you smell each one. Sweet, like my daughter's voice, she says of one. This one bitter, like my mother-in-law. You buy both, just to be safe. You're almost ready to leave when a boy snatches your pouch and vanishes into the crowd. Of course he does. You bolt after him. Instinct kicks in. Down alleys, through archways, past startled musicians and a chicken who does not appreciate being stepped on. You're gaining on him when 2 men block your path, civilians, but broad-shouldered and grinning like they've caught lunch. You steal from him, one says, pointing at the kid. The boy's panting, nervous. He tosses your pouch at your feet and runs. But now the 2 men are eyeing you. You look like a thief, too. Before you can say anything, you're being dragged by the elbow through the crowd. People part murmuring. Roman justice is fast and suspiciously light on evidence. You try to explain, but they don't care. Magistrate will decide, they say. Historians still argue whether petty crimes were truly judged by fair standards or whether class and bribes ran the show. Judging by your odds, dressed like a lowly, nobody sweating like a roasted pig, you're not hopeful. You're pulled into a shaded forum space where a magistratus toga pristine and expression board sits behind a low platform. A few bored attendants linger nearby. Your two captors speak first fast, dramatic lots of hand-waving. You hear words like foreigner coin theft and suspicious. Then all eyes turn to you. You try to answer, but your Latin falters under pressure. The magistrate waves a hand. You'll spend a few hours in the holding pen while we review your character. If you're lucky, your master comes to claim you. If not, branding. Wait. What? Branding with a hot iron on the forehead. It's not a punishment for stealing, per se. It's for being a suspicious nobody with no clear owner or citizenship. Slaves get branded so they can be tracked. Sometimes it's a mark on the arm. Sometimes the face. You're marched away, breath tight in your chest. You try to play it cool. You fail. Your palms are sweating, and the garum is starting to leak through your tunic. It's not a good look. On the way, you pass by a statue of Minerva, goddess of wisdom and war strategy. She looks entirely unbothered. Her owl stares down at you with what can only be described as smug apathy. You reach a holding cell near the edge of the forum. It's little more than a stone room with iron bars and a low ceiling. Inside are three others, a snoring man with a swollen eye, a woman mumbling to herself, and a boy no older than 12 picking at the wall. The guard pushes you in and locks the door. "Don't bite each other," he grunts. The stench hits you like a slap. Sweat, blood, old wine, despair. There's no toilet, just a bucket in the corner that no one wants to talk about. You sit on the floor, which is gritty and sticky at once, and try to breathe shallowly. The boy glances at you. "What did you do?" he whispers. "Nothing, you say." He nods. That's the worst kind. You laugh weakly, but it dies in your throat. The woman murmurs something about the emperor's bathwater. The snoring man shifts and farts audibly. You consider crawling into the bucket just to escape your reality. That's when you hear it footsteps outside. Someone important. The guard straightens. You peek through the bars. A woman in a long, dark stola steps into view. Gold bracelets, cold eyes, powerful aura. She scans the cell and points. "That one," she says. "He belongs to me now." The guard raises an eyebrow but doesn't argue. "Your name, Domina." She smiles like she's playing a game, only she understands. "Lucilla Valeria, tell your magistrate." And just like that, you're yanked out of the cell back into sunlight, stumbling behind a woman who claims to own you. You want to ask why, but the way she walks says not now. You follow her through the city, heart pounding, ears still ringing. Something about her doesn't feel quite right. Lucilla Valeria doesn't say a word as you struggle to match her brisk pace through the winding streets of Rome. Her sandals slap confidently against the stones, her deep crimson stola trailing like a Roman flag behind her. You're trying to decide whether you've been rescued or bought. Every few seconds, she glances over her shoulder just to make sure you're still following. And each time you try to catch her eye, she looks away like you're a particularly interesting item she found at the market, and now regrets purchasing. Eventually, you cross into a quieter part of the city. The streets widen, the smells shift less, fish guts and garlic, more crushed roses, incense, and polished marble. The buildings here are larger, cleaner, more elegant. Slaves sweep the thresholds, and house guards stand beside painted doorways eyeing passers-by. This isn't Subura anymore. This is where the upper crust of Roman society drinks watered-down wine and pretends to enjoy poetry readings. Lucilla finally stops in front of a tall villa with a red-tiled roof and an iron gate shaped like intertwining vines. A peacock calls somewhere behind the walls. It sounds vaguely judgmental. The gate swings open, and you step into the atrium, a courtyard, with a shallow rectangular pool in the center. Sunlight filters down in soft, golden shafts, flickering on the rippling water. You pause for just a second to soak it in the serenity. The faint splash of the small fountain, the scent of olive oil and polished stone. And for a moment you forget you were nearly branded like cattle 2 hours ago. A servant bows and takes your dripping garum jar with 2 fingers holding it away like it might explode. Lucilla leads you through a series of open halls lined with painted frescoes. Mythological scenes, gods and mortals. A lion eating someone who definitely made poor life choices. You pass marble busts on pedestals, soft rugs underfoot, and a lyre resting on a bench made of ivory, and something that looks suspiciously like bone. Finally, you reach a shaded study. Lucilla sits on a carved chair, gestures for you to stand. "I don't like mysteries," she says coolly, "but I like curiosity." You open your mouth. She raises a hand. You were found alone. No owner, no mark, no past. You speak Latin well, but you don't move like us. Your hands are soft, too soft. She leans forward slightly. And your accent, it's not Greek. It's not Gallic. It's wrong. You swallow. The candle on her desk flickers. Outside, someone laughs faintly distant. "I need someone who sees things differently," Lucilla continues. Someone who asks strange questions. Someone who doesn't belong. You blink. For what? She smiles like she's been waiting for you to ask. To spy. Of course. Historians still argue whether Roman noblewomen wielded real political power or merely manipulated it from behind embroidered curtains. Lucilla. She's a living argument for the former. There's steel under her silk, and clearly she's tangled in something more dangerous than garum shopping. She stands and walks toward a wall, then presses her hand against a stone tile. It swings open, of course it does, revealing a narrow corridor lit by flickering torches. You hesitate. She glances at you. Coming. Inside, the air cools instantly. Stone swallows sound. You descend a flight of stairs that twists like a snail shell until you emerge in a chamber beneath the villa. There's a large table strewn with scrolls, wax, tablets, maps. The walls are lined with locked cabinets. One contains small glass vials, some glow faintly unnaturally. Another holds tiny figurines arranged in precise rows. Soldiers, chariots, boats. Some carved from wood. Others from weight is that lead. A man appears from a side room, hunched and smiling faintly. "You brought him," he says. Lucilla nods. "Tullus, meet our new observer." He notices things. Tullus waves vaguely. His hands are ink-stained, and one eye twitches like it's had too much caffeine centuries before caffeine even exists. You try to make sense of this. "What do you need me to do?" Lucilla glides to the table, pulls out a small wax tablet. There's a man, Senator Gaius Severus. He's gathering support for something unconventional, dangerous. I need to know who meets with him, what he says, where he goes. You'll work in his household. He's looking for a new assistant. You'll watch, listen, and report to me. Nothing more. You stare at her. And if I say no, Lucilla doesn't blink. Then I report you to the magistrate as a foreign infiltrator. You'll be thrown to the animals in the next public spectacle. You nod. Smart choice. By evening, you're in a different tunic, cleaner, darker, and Tullus is drilling you on Severus's household names, routines, known staff. You repeat them like mantras. You learn that the senator is ambitious, charismatic, and maybe just unhinged enough to believe he can change the empire. You also learn that he loves imported dates, and his pet monkey Crassus, who bites everyone except him. You leave the villa under cover of dusk with a fake name Marinus, and a scroll that serves as a forged reference from a respected merchant. Your instructions get hired. Gain trust. Do not get bitten by the monkey. The last pink light of day spills across Rome as you make your way toward Severus's domus. Fires flicker in lamps. Music drifts from nearby courtyards, and a boy runs past waving a sparkler made of reeds soaked in resin. A part of you feels alive. Terrified, hungry, but alive. You're about to knock on the senator's gate when a voice hisses behind you. Don't go in there. You turn. A man in a hooded cloak stares at you, eyes wide. He'll ruin you, he says, and Lucilla won't save you next time. You blink and he's gone. The door creaks open. A servant squints at you. Yes, your mouth opens. I'm here for the assistant position. The door swings wide. You step inside. You're barely through the door before you feel it. This place hums differently. Senator Gaius Severus's domus isn't just wealthy, it's showy. The marble floor of the entrance hall glows with polished veins, so smooth you nearly slip on it. Massive oil lamps flicker from bronze sconces shaped like sea monsters, casting golden light that stretches and warps against the high ceilings. Everywhere you look, there's something trying to impress you: mosaic tiles depicting Jupiter, hurling lightning gold leaf edges on the frescoes. Even the air smells expensive, like myrrh cinnamon, and just a touch of ego. A servant leads you past a small garden in the atrium, where a peacock struts beside a fountain shaped like Neptune. Yes, another peacock. Apparently, Rome runs on garum gossip and gaudy birds. You're ushered into a side room where a scribe glances up from a scroll. His robes are plain, but he has that pinched, calculating look of someone who enjoys correcting pronunciation more than most people enjoy wine. You're the one from Lucius Faenius he asks, referencing your fake merchant employer. He said you were observant. You nod, trying not to visibly sweat. Yes, sir. He waves you forward. Name Marinus. He squints at you. Odd accent. Narbonensis. You freeze for a heartbeat. Half Gallic mother. Taught me Latin late. He hums, not convinced, but also not that interested. Follow me. You're taken to a long chamber where Senator Severus is reclining on a couch dictating letters while someone fans him with ostrich feathers. He looks younger than you expected, maybe mid-30s, with sharp cheekbones, sharp eyes, and probably sharp dreams. Everything about him is curated. His ring catches the light just enough to be noticed. His sandals are clean despite the dust outside, and even his voice is modulated like a trained orator's calm, confident, measured. He eyes you the way a lion eyes a goat who walks into the cage voluntarily. Another assistant. The scribe nods. Lucius Faenius recommends him. He's clever. Severus tilts his head. Clever is dangerous. Can you read yes? Greek? A little. Keep secrets. I'm the second son of a second son. I am a secret. Severus smiles faintly. You'll do. And just like that, you're in. Your duties aren't glamorous. Mostly scribing, organizing wax tablets, lighting lamps, and occasionally delivering messages sealed with the senator's ring, always handed to you with a side glance and a tone that says, "Drop this and your fish food." Over the next few days, you begin to blend in. You learn the rhythm of the household. The cooks rise before dawn. The guards rotate every 6 hours, and someone keeps leaving amphorae of wine under the statue of Bacchus like a weird, drunken offering. You also learn that Crassus, the senator's monkey, has a personal vendetta against your ankles. But the real interest lies in Severus's visitors. They arrive in twos or threes, usually after sunset, always veiled or hooded. Their conversations take place in the triclinium or private study behind closed doors. You're expected to serve wine and vanish. So you listen. One evening, you catch the tail end of a hushed conversation. The Eastern legions are loyal, and the grain fleet intercepted. The people will riot by Saturnalia if supplies are short. Severus nods slowly. Then we move after the new year. Rome won't see it coming. You spill wine on the floor, just enough to cover your startled inhale. Later, while scrubbing the stain from the mosaic, your mind races. What kind of plot is this A rebellion? A grain monopoly coup. A bold new diet plan. Historians still argue whether plots like these were common among the senatorial elite or the fever dreams of power-drunk aristocrats. But in this house it feels very real. You finally get a private moment to scribble notes for Lucilla on a scrap of parchment hidden under your mattress. The household begins to notice you. The kitchen slaves nod when you pass. The stable boy teaches you a curse in Oscan that makes everyone laugh when you accidentally yell it near a magistrate's nephew. You're becoming invisible, and that's good. Spies don't stand out, except someone has noticed. One night, as you fetch a scroll from the library, you hear someone behind you. You're not who you say you are. You turn. It's a girl, maybe 17, with keen eyes and ink-stained fingers. You recognize her from Severus's study. His niece, maybe. She tilts her head. You pretend well, but your calluses are wrong. Your grip on the stylus is too modern. You stare. She steps closer. My father thought I wasn't paying attention, but I am, and I don't trust you. You try to think of something clever. Instead, you say, "What's your name?" She raises an eyebrow. "Antonia." And don't worry, I won't tell him. Yet. Why not? She shrugs. Because you're interesting. And because if my uncle really is planning something dangerous, I want to know too. You nod slowly. So, what do you want? Her voice drops. To be part of whatever happens next. And just like that, you have an unexpected ally, someone inside. But that same night, things shift. You wake to the sound of hushed voices outside your door. Not from Narbonensis. Too curious. Could be Lucilla's plant. Want me to handle it? No. We watch. He leads us to her. You don't sleep the rest of the night. At dawn, you burn the parchment you'd hidden under your mattress. The game just changed. Now you're not spying. You're being watched. By the next morning, paranoia has laced its cold fingers around your neck. Every whisper feels like it's about you. Every sideways glance carries weight. Even Crassus the monkey seems more suspicious than usual. His squinty little eyes follow your every move, as if he's deciding whether to bite you or raise an alarm. You start mentally mapping escape routes, hallways, balconies, even a stupid plan involving hiding in an amphora. You go through your daily tasks on autopilot, copying documents, delivering messages, pouring watered wine. But under every ordinary moment lies the tension of a trap slowly tightening. You need to send a message to Lucilla, but all your old drop points are compromised, and you're fairly certain that even the house cat is in on it. Antonia notices. She corners you in the library, pretending to browse a scroll on astronomy. You're jumpy, she murmurs without looking at you. Maybe because people are planning to handle me. She turns a page with exaggerated calm. You need to get out of the house tonight. There's a bathhouse near the Forum of Augustus, the one with the cracked marble lion. Be there at the 3rd hour of nightfall. Someone will meet you. You glance at her, and I can trust you. She closes the scroll softly. You don't have a choice. So, that night you fake a stomach illness, thankfully convincing after eating a suspicious fig, and slip out of the villa during the pre-dawn shuffle of laundry slaves. You keep to side streets avoiding torches and curious eyes. The bathhouse is mostly empty. It smells of sulfur lavender oil, and something that can only be described as ancient sweat. You hide near the cracked lion statue and wait. Footsteps echo through the steamy chamber. Lucilla emerges from the mist like some imperial ghost. Her hair has covered her cloak pulled tight. She doesn't speak until she's next to you. "You were nearly compromised," she whispers. "You've been followed." "Yeah," you hiss back, "thanks for the career advice." She smirks. "You're still alive. That counts for something." You update her quickly, Severus's plan. Antonia's warning the overheard grain discussion. Lucilla's expression hardens. "It's worse than I thought. He's not just seeking power, he's aligning with Eastern generals. Possibly even elements loyal to Parthia." You blink. "He's going to sell Rome out. Or fracture it," she replies. "There's a plan to disrupt the next Senate vote. He'll manufacture a crisis, get himself declared consul with extended powers, and then, well, historians still argue whether this kind of stunt was political theater or actual rebellion." Your stomach sinks. This isn't just gossip and veiled threats anymore. This is history crashing forward, and you're caught between its wheels. Lucilla hands you a small leather pouch. Inside is a wax seal with my sigil. Use it only once to summon help. But if you get caught with it, you're finished. You hide it inside your tunic and nod. She grips your wrist. "Survive. I have plans for you." Then she's gone lost again in the haze. You make it back before dawn, slipping into the villa's rear courtyard, just as the bakery slaves begin kneading dough. You're sweaty, slightly damp, and have somehow acquired a piece of fig stuck to your sandal. No one notices. Or maybe they pretend not to. For 3 days you lie low. You speak less, you move carefully. You let Crassus bite your ankle and don't even flinch. Antonia smuggles you a scrap of parchment folded inside a wax tablet. It reads, "Senator hosting foreign guests, 2 from Antioch." Nightfall. So, that night you find yourself stationed near the peristyle garden refilling goblets, during a small gathering of men with polished accents and unusually good teeth. Their robes are fine, their fingers jeweled, and one of them wears a ring shaped like an eagle strangling a snake. One of the guests gestures with his cup. Rome is bloated. The East is lean and hungry. Severus nods, and ripe for unity. You retreat silently into the shadows. Later, Antonia corners you near the kitchen fire. "They're moving faster now," she says. "There's going to be a signal. A fire at the Temple of Janus. 3 torches lit in the east window. That means the vote's rigged. He'll push the Senate into emergency powers." You nod, trying to process the speed of it all. Sensory details blur together. The scent of wet clay from the garden. The sizzle of olive oil in the pan. The way your heartbeat seems to sync with the pounding of the mortar and pestle. Rome is alive pulsing, and it's about to convulse. That night you sleep with the wax seal clutched in your hand. But in the middle of the night, something wakes you. A hand over your mouth. You try to scream. The hand tightens. A voice hisses in your ear. "You've been very clever, Marinus. But now you'll come with me." You twist panic, flooding your veins, but your legs are numb from the awkward way you slept. They pull you up, hood your head, and then you're gone. The sack over your head smells like goat and mildew. You're slung over someone's shoulder like a sack of grain jostling with each step. You try to count turns left, then right down a flight of stairs, but it's impossible. Every heartbeat thunders in your ears. Every breath feels like it might be your last. Eventually, you're dumped onto a cold stone floor. The hood yanked off. Torchlight burns your eyes. You blink, dazed, until the shapes around you come into focus. Rough walls, no windows, and two men in dark tunics standing by a door. One cracks his knuckles. The other examines a dagger like he's rating it for comfort, and then he walks in. Severus. No toga now, just a soft linen tunic and the look of someone very, very disappointed. "You've been busy," he says quietly, sneaking out, listening in, writing things down. You say nothing. He steps closer. "The only reason you're still breathing is that I don't like waste. But we can fix that." He nods to one of the guards. The man steps forward and punches you. Hard. Pain cracks across your jaw like thunder. The floor tilts under you, but you don't fall. You refuse. Severus sighs. "I know you're not from Narbonensis. I know Lucius Phaeanius never sent you. But I want one thing before I decide what part of the Tiber you'll be thrown in." He leans down. "Who are you working for?" You say nothing. He straightens. "So be it." Another blow, this time to your ribs. The air vanishes from your lungs like smoke in the wind. You double over, gasping, tasting blood. Quirky fact time, Romans used vinegar and rosewater as antiseptics. But what you really need right now is a helmet and a time machine. Historians still argue whether Roman interrogation leaned more toward torture or psychological games. Spoiler alert, it was both. You're getting the deluxe combo. But you hold out. Not because you're brave, okay? Maybe a little, but because if you speak everything collapses. Antonia Lucilla, even Crassus. Yes, even the ankle-biting menace. Severus looks annoyed now, like a man who's lost a coin in the couch cushions and can't quite let it go. Then he says, "Put him in the cistern room. No food, no water. We'll try again tomorrow." They drag you down more steps and throw you into a stone room. Damp. Moldy. Smells like despair and wet sandals. You land on the floor with a grunt, curling against the cold. Time stretches. You drift in and out. Dreams twist into hallucinations. You're back at the forum, but everyone wears monkey masks. Crassus lectures the Senate. Antonia rides a chariot made of scrolls. Lucilla turns to you and says, "Wake up." You do. Footsteps. The door creaks open. A torch flares and Antonia slips in, cloaked and trembling. "Don't say anything," she whispers. "I bribed the guards. We have 10 minutes. She slips a soft cloth around your bleeding wrist, pulls a water skin from under her tunic, and tips it to your lips. Cool. Blessedly cool. "Why you croak?" "Because I believe in Rome," she murmurs. "Not this Rome, our Rome. The one we want to fix." She hands you a small iron key. It opens the northern servant gate. After tonight's banquet, everyone will be distracted. You can slip out. You frown. And then what? You run, she says, fire in her eyes. You get to the Capitoline. You tell Lucilla everything. You stop my uncle. She presses her hand to your cheek for a heartbeat. A small human moment in the stone cold. Stay alive. Then she's gone. You barely sleep. The next night, when the scent of roasted boar and sweet wine floods the halls, and the villa echoes with laughter, you move. Slow, silent, every step a risk. You find the servant corridor. Turn left. Right. Past a pantry full of figs. Nope. Past a dozing guard. Then the northern gate. You use the key. It creaks loud enough to raise the dead, but no one stirs. And just like that, you're outside. The air hits you like freedom and fear mixed together. You blend into the shadows, then duck into an alley. You run. Your legs scream. Your ribs ache. But you don't stop. The Capitoline Hill looms in the distance. Torchlight flickering along its ancient stones. You're almost there. Then hoofbeats. A mounted patrol. You duck into a doorway, pressing yourself against the wall. You hold your breath. The horse passes. You wait 3 full heartbeats. Then you sprint. You reach the Temple of Concordia, where Lucilla once mentioned a hidden entrance under a statue of Minerva. You find it. Pry it open, slide inside, safe for now. But deep below the city, Rome stirs in her sleep, and tomorrow will not be kind. You collapse onto cold stone in the darkness chest, heaving ribs burning, and a coppery taste thick in your mouth. For a minute, you just lie there, listening, trying to decide whether you're more dead than alive. Welcome to the Temple of Concordia's underbelly. A damp crawl space where dust and time hang heavy. According to Lucilla, this passage was once used by augurs to consult omens in secret, though now it's mainly used by rats and very desperate people like yourself. You crawl forward. The air smells of old incense and wet limestone. Your hands slide over rough carvings, symbols, etched by who knows whom. Maybe priests, maybe revolutionaries. One looks suspiciously like someone giving the finger. Some things are timeless. Eventually, you reach a hatch. It creaks open to a narrow stairwell lit faintly by torches. You climb slowly, every movement sparking pain in your bruised ribs. At the top is a bronze door, half covered by a faded tapestry of Mars' sword drawn. You knock once. Pause. Then 3 soft taps. A bolt shifts. The door opens. Lucilla pulls you inside before the wind can whisper your name. You look like garbage, she says softly. Feel worse. She locks the door behind you and leads you into a chamber carved from old marble and optimism. It's not luxurious, but it's dry and warm with a low-burning brazier and a cot covered in wool. There's a plate of bread and cheese on the table. You eat like someone who hasn't tasted food in days, because you know you haven't. Lucilla waits, arms crossed, eyes stormy. Tell me everything. You do. From the moment you were dragged out of bed to Antonia's warning, the wax seal the key. She doesn't interrupt. Not even when you tell her about Severus's plans, the foreign guests, the temple fire, the rigged vote. When you finish, she says, it's worse than I feared. He's moving faster now. The Eastern legions, if they align with him, the Senate will fold. You wipe your mouth. So, what's your move? She smiles tight and tired. I've already sent word. My cousin is on his way with 200 loyal guards from the coast. But we need to stop the vote before Severus can push his emergency decree through. You blink. You want to crash the Senate exactly. Mainstream fact. In times of political crisis, Rome's Senate could grant Senatus Consultum Ultimum, a sort of emergency powers decree. It was like flipping a big red button labeled dictatorial stuff. Okay. Lucilla explains that Severus is planning to fake a grain riot, burn wagons near the Forum, stir panic, then ride in with his solution. He'll point to unrest and beg the Senate for power. You, of course, get the fun job. You'll go in ahead of us, she says, pouring a cup of wine. Find our ally, Marcus Pulcher, one of the newer senators. He's young, idealistic, and dumb enough to help. Give him this. She hands you a ring. A smooth iron band with an eagle carved into it, wings folded. He'll recognize it. You take it unsure what's scarier, being tortured again or speaking in front of senators. Lucilla sees the hesitation. Hey, she says softer now. You've done more in 3 days than most agents manage in a month. This is the last stretch. You get this right and we stop a civil war. She sets a hand on your shoulder. And maybe you get to go home. Wherever that is. The night stretches on. You sleep, finally curled in the cot with a wool blanket that smells faintly of cedar and candle wax. It's the best rest you've had since you woke up in this mad, marble-covered nightmare. At dawn, you pull on a plain tunic and cloak. Lucilla hands you a forged Senate courier tag and a small dagger. Just in case, she says. Also, don't stab anyone important. At least not yet. You nod. Then you're off. The Capitoline Hill is already buzzing. Carriages clatter. Guards shout orders. You slip into the Senate Annex through the side, blending with the morning deliveries. The building's cool and echoing like being inside a stone lung. Marble columns rise like trees, and the air carries the scent of old scrolls wax and slightly over-perfumed senators. You find Polker near the atrium arguing with a man twice his age about grain tariffs. He's tall with a patchy beard and a cloak that screams trying too hard. You approach casually. Message for Senator Polcher. He turns. Suspicious, then confused as you show him the ring. He freezes, then grabs your arm and hauls you into an empty chamber. Where did you get this? He demands. You lower your voice. From Lucilla. Severus is planning something tonight. He's faking a riot to seize emergency powers. You're our only shot. Polker pales. But I'm just a junior senator. I can't. You can delay the vote. Stall. Raise doubts. Demand a recount a reading of the omens. A dance from the Vestals. I don't care. Just buy us time. He swallows. Nods once. Okay. You hand him a sealed scroll. Proof of Severus's dealings with Parthian agents. Keep it hidden. Use it only if he corners you. As you leave, you glance out the atrium window. Smoke rises faintly in the east. The Temple of Janus. 3 torches. The signal has been lit. You barely make it out of the Senate before the first screams echo from the Forum. The crowd shifts like a startled flock. Vendors clutching baskets of olives, scribes tripping over their wax tablets. Children running for their mothers. You duck behind a pillar as a wooden cart bursts into flames. Grain sacks explode into the air like fireworks feeding the fire with a steady stream of panic. Exactly as Severus planned. You sprint down the marble steps heading for the Basilica Julia, where Lucilla said her cousin would arrive with his men. All around you, the city churns guards, shouting, citizens, panicking, and an unfortunate mime continuing his act because the show must go on. Sensory detail time. The scent of burnt cumin, the crack of timber, the high-pitched bray of a donkey that's really not okay with any of this. When you reach the meeting spot, Lucilla is already there, cloaked and steely-eyed, surrounded by a dozen riders in plain armor. Her cousin Titus towers over everyone like a walking statue. He nods at you. You're the courier. You nod back. I saw the start. Fires crowd panic. Polker's inside the Senate now. Lucilla turns to her cousin. Then we move. The plan is straightforward in the way that jumping off a roof is straightforward. Get inside the Senate chamber before Severus arrives, confront him with the evidence. And if he tries anything well, there are swords. But first, you have to get past the Praetorian Guard. Historians still argue whether the Guard was Rome's shield, or its sword protector, or power broker. Right now, it's looking very swordy. They're lined up along the Curia's front, all polished helmets and suspicious glares. One officer steps forward as your group approaches. This area is closed to the public, he says. His voice is bored but dangerous. Lucilla steps forward. I'm not the public. She tosses him a scroll bearing the seal of the old emperor, her father's. The guard studies it. Then her face. Then Titus's massive frame. He steps aside. Inside the Senate chamber is a rising amphitheater of polished stone, and it's already buzzing like a kicked hornet's nest. Polker is mid-speech red-faced and flustered, pointing dramatically at a scroll. I demand a reading of the Sibylline books, he yells. It is tradition. A few senators groan. One actually snores. You and Lucilla slip through the side entrance and take a position near the back. Then the doors slam open. Severus strides in like thunder. He's wearing full military garb now, no subtlety, no smiles. Behind him, a dozen Praetorians form a wall of steel and muscle. The chamber hushes as he ascends the speaker's platform. Honored senators. He begins his voice like honey poured over a blade. Our city burns. Foreign hands move against us. I ask as your humble servant to act without delay. Lucilla nods at Pulcher. Pulcher clears his throat and raises the scroll you gave him. This document proves otherwise. He unrolls it with a dramatic flourish, then stops, goes pale, because the scroll is blank. Someone switched it. You don't have time to curse because Severus has already drawn a short gladius from under his cloak. The Senate erupts. You lunge forward, grabbing Lucilla as guards rush the dais. Senators scatter like startled pigeons. Some run, others scream. One vomits into his own toga. Severus locks eyes with Lucilla. You meddling child. Lucilla draws her own blade. You treasonous snake. What follows is chaos with marble acoustics. Titus charges Severus's men with a roar that would have made Mars proud. Lucilla parries a strike meant for Pulcher. You dodge a senator, flailing blindly with a ceremonial scepter. You grab a torch from the wall and brandish it, not entirely sure what you're doing, but determined not to die without setting at least one evil dude's toga on fire. Mainstream fact. The Senate chamber wasn't built for combat. The tiers are too steep, the acoustics too weird, and the furniture very, very flammable. Someone knocks over a brazier. Curtains catch fire. You spot Severus escaping through a side exit, dragging one of his wounded guards. Lucilla yells after him. You don't hesitate. You follow him out into the blinding sunlight down the steps of the Curia, past shouting citizens and choking smoke. He's fast for a guy in armor, ducking through alleyways, knocking over crates, leaping across puddles that smell nothing like water. He vanishes around a corner. You follow, and suddenly you're tackled. You hit the ground hard. A boot on your chest. Severus. He grins bloodied, but not beaten. You again. You scramble, try to draw your dagger, but he kicks it away. I should have killed you the moment you tripped into my villa. Yeah, hindsight's rough. He raises his blade, then freezes. The soft clink of a dozen swords behind him. Titus, Lucilla, the riders. You're done, Lucilla says. Severus drops his sword, but not his smile. You think this ends with me, he says. Rome has always belonged to the strongest. Lucilla steps forward, and now the strong are tired of you. She punches him. It's deeply satisfying. Later, back in the Temple of Concordia, you sit by the brazier, bandaged and exhausted. Lucilla pours wine into 2 cups. To surviving Rome. You clink cups. Then she says, but this isn't over. Of course not, because someone switched the scroll, and someone wanted you caught. The real traitor still out there. You don't sleep that night. Not really. Your body lies still in the temple's quiet undercroft, wrapped in scratchy wool and the lingering sting of bruises. But your mind paces endlessly. Over and over again, you see Pulcher's face when he unrolled that scroll expecting fire and getting nothing. Blank. Clean. Silent betrayal in inkless form. Someone new, someone very close. Lucilla sits nearby quietly, cleaning her blade with a cloth that's seen better centuries. The fire casts shadows across her cheekbones, and she doesn't look up when she says, "We were lucky." You snort. That's not what lucky feels like. We could have lost everything. Or maybe we already did, you murmur. She finally looks at you. You're thinking about the scroll. You nod. I checked the satchel myself, she says. Tied the string 3 times, waxed the seal. It had to be someone inside. Inside. Her circle. Your circle. You think of Titus with his booming voice and visible muscles, of Pulcher, bumbling but brave, of the quiet courier who brought the first warning from Antonia, the one with the bad limp and kind eyes. Historians still argue whether the final betrayal that sparked the Praetorian Purge came from within Lucilla's own ranks, or whether it was an unrelated political misfire. Either way, the fallout was blood-soaked. I need you to do something, Lucilla says. Tomorrow morning, you'll go to the tabularium. You blink. The records vault. She nods. Every courier's entry is logged. Date, time, package origin. If someone swapped the scroll, there'll be a trace, or a missing name, or something. Assuming they were sloppy, Lucilla gives a tired smile. Everyone gets sloppy, eventually. So, at dawn, you head uphill again. The tabularium crouches at the edge of the Capitoline, a massive stone rectangle built more for intimidation than convenience. The place smells like ink mildew and resignation. You flash a borrowed sigil and are escorted to the third vault courier records from the last 10 days. The clerk is a sleepy old man with ink-stained fingers and a suspicious squint. You want courier logs, he wheezes. That'll take all day. I've got time. Sensory note. The scrolls are brittle and gray around the edges, and each crackle as you unroll, one feels like you're unwrapping a secret that has tried very hard to stay wrapped. You work methodically comparing logs from the courier who originally delivered the scroll with the ones logged the day you arrived. Names match. Times match, but the handwriting different. You stare. The courier, who supposedly dropped the scroll to Lucilla, used neat military-style script, precise and squared. The version you just read, loopier, lazier, like someone faking the hand. You show the clerk both entries. He squints, then grunts. Not the same writer. You feel your heartbeat rise. Fake courier, fake scroll, real betrayal. And whoever did it had access to Lucilla's inner circle. You hurry back, weaving through morning crowds of fishmongers, bakers, and senators nursing hangovers. Back in the temple, Lucilla is already in a meeting with Titus and a few trusted allies. You pull her aside and lay it all out. She listens without blinking. So someone sent a decoy courier, which means they knew we'd send a message to Pulcher. She pauses. There were only 4 people in the room when we made that plan. You, her Titus, and a chill creeps down your spine. The scribe you whisper. Volusus. Lucilla curses softly. I'll find him. You grab her wrist. No. He'll bolt if he sees you coming. She considers, then nods. You find him. I'll stall the others. You know where Volusus lives, a narrow home, wedged between 2 shrines to minor gods, who mostly get prayed to when someone's goat is sick. You wait until dusk, then slip in through a side alley. The door is unlocked. Inside, it's silent. Not peaceful wrong. Furniture overturned. A shattered amphora on the floor. A wax tablet face down beside the window. And no sign of Volusus. You spot something glinting in the broken pottery. A thin gold chain. You lift it carefully. At the end dangles a coin etched with a scorpion. Not Roman. Parthian. Mainstream fact. During Rome's turbulent interactions with Parthia, both empires used spies and bribes liberally. Coins, jewelry, even stamped playing pieces were used to identify agents in the field. Then you hear a footstep behind you. You spin dagger raised. Too late. A blow to the back of your head sends you crashing forward. The last thing you see before everything goes dark is the wax tablet cracked open, revealing a carved emblem beneath. The same scorpion. Whoever Volusus was working for, they're not done. And now, neither are you. When you wake, it's not the comforting warmth of a temple's hearth that greets you. It's cold stone, hard, and unforgiving, pressing against your back. You blink, head, pounding your vision, swimming as though you're staring at the world through water. You try to move, but feel the familiar sting of ropes cutting into your wrists. Tight. Too tight. Whoever took you didn't plan on letting you escape easily. The last few moments come rushing back. Volusis. The gold chain. The coin. The strike to the back of your head. Then darkness. Now you're here. Wherever here is, you strain your ears. Silence, except for the faint drip of water somewhere in the distance. The air smells damp, musty, like an old cellar. Slowly, you sit up, eyes adjusting to the dim light. A torch flickers on the wall, casting jagged shadows on the stone. And there across from you sits Volusis, looking entirely too comfortable in his chair, a sadistic little grin playing at the edges of his lips. "Well, well," he says, leaning forward. "We meet again. I must admit, I didn't expect you to survive that last little encounter. You try to speak, but your throat feels like sandpaper. A good sign, you think? Means you're alive, at least." He clicks his tongue in mock sympathy. "You were so close. Had all the pieces, didn't you?" You glare at him, fighting the pain in your skull. "Why?" Volusis stands stretching with exaggerated leisure. Ah, yes, the big question. Why he pauses, letting the word linger. It's not personal, of course. It's just business, a matter of loyalty. Your brow furrows. Loyalty to who, Severus? "Oh, Severus," he says with a chuckle, shaking his head. "You really think Severus is the one pulling the strings here?" Your heart skips a beat. The realization hits like a cold wind. You've been following the wrong trail all along. But he's the one who... Severus is a pawn. Volusis cuts in, stepping closer. A very useful one. But there's a bigger game at play here. One much older than him. And you've been dancing right into it. He motions around the room. This, all of it, just a distraction. You swallow hard, the taste of bile rising in your throat. A distraction for what? Volusis gives a slow, predatory smile. For the true master of this city. The one who doesn't need armies or armies of loyal soldiers to control Rome. A master who knows every movement, every whisper. The pieces are slowly starting to fit like fragments of a broken mosaic falling into place. So you're not working for Severus, you manage to say your voice hoarse. Severus is useful. But no, not for him. I work for the one who controls Rome. He steps back, a gesture of finality. The Senate, the Praetorians, the consuls. They're all just pieces on the board. All of them under the thumb of one person. The one who rules from the shadows. Your mind races. Who? He leans in, close, his breath hot on your ear. The imperial family. The true blood of Rome. The family that has held the reins for centuries. The one you never saw coming. Your pulse quickens. The bloodline. The whispers. The rumors. Lucilla's own family, the one that promised to free Rome from tyranny, has been playing a dangerous game of double-cross all along. But you can't think too much about that now. Volusis straightens, letting his words settle like dust in the air. The game isn't over, of course. It's only just begun. But now that you know the truth, well, let's just say you're more useful to me alive than dead. You glare at him, but your heart is sinking. What do you want? His smile widens. I want you to deliver a message. You sit across from Lucilla later that day. The quiet hum of tension in the air between you. She knows something's wrong the moment you step inside, her eyes narrow with suspicion. Where's Volusis? She asks, not bothering with pleasantries. You glance away, trying to swallow the storm building in your chest. I spoke with him. Her gaze sharpens, and I made a mistake, you mutter. I've been chasing the wrong people. Lucilla's frown deepens, but she doesn't ask you to explain further. She's no fool, and she knows there's more to the story than you're letting on. But you can't keep it from her. Not anymore. You sit down across from her, the fire in the hearth crackling softly. It's so quiet you can hear the distant sounds of the city outside the bustling streets of Rome, teeming with life that has no idea what's really happening behind closed doors. I found out who's really behind all of this, you say quietly. It's not Severus, it's the imperial family. Her face goes still. You know you've just dropped a bombshell, but even as you watch her process the information, you can see it clicking into place for her too. Volusus. You continue, your voice tinged with disbelief. He's working for them. They've been pulling the strings all along. Lucilla leans forward, her eyes narrowing with growing suspicion and dread. How do you know all this? You reach into your tunic and pull out the gold chain, the scorpion coin still dangling from it. She stares at it for a moment, then looks back at you. So what now, she asks quietly. You stand heart heavy. We need to move quickly. If they've been infiltrating the Senate, we can't trust anyone. The realization hits like a punch to the gut. This is no longer just about a handful of corrupt politicians. It's about the very heart of Rome, the bloodline that has ruled for centuries, slipping out of the shadows to seize the reins once again. I'll find out who else is involved. Lucilla says, determination hardening in her voice. We end this before it gets worse. The fire crackles again, its warmth the only thing keeping you from freezing in place. One thing's for sure, this fight, it's only just beginning. You don't get much sleep that night. You lay awake, staring at the ceiling of the small room in the temple, mind spinning with the realization of who's truly pulling the strings in Rome. The imperial family. They've been playing a game so deep in the shadows, no one, even the brightest minds in the Senate, had any idea. You keep hearing Volusus's words echoing in your head. The game isn't over. It's only just begun. But the weight of it sinks deeper into your chest. If the imperial family is really behind all of this, then Rome itself is in more danger than you could have imagined. It's not just a power struggle among factions. It's a battle for the soul of the city itself. When you finally drag yourself out of bed, Lucilla is already waiting for you. Her face a mix of determination and quiet concern. She's gathered a small group of loyal riders, those who didn't flinch when the situation got too tense in the Senate. Her circle is smaller now, but it's tighter, more dangerous. The sooner we act, the better. She says, her voice steady as she hands you a small plain tunic. We need to meet someone, a contact, someone who knows about the imperial family's true plans. You give her a questioning look. A contact who? Her eyes flash with something unreadable. A man named Gaius. He works in the palace's outer circle, nobody important on the surface, but he hears things, knows things. He's one of the few people who can be trusted. You don't question her, not now. If there's even a hint of truth to what Volusus said, you'll need all the help you can get. By mid-morning, you find yourselves walking through narrow alleys near the Palatine Hill. The scent of baked bread and fresh herbs fills the air, a stark contrast to the heaviness that weighs down your every step. Lucilla walks just ahead of you, her gaze scanning the surroundings, alert and watchful. The alley eventually leads to a small courtyard where a shabby building with peeling walls sits. Lucilla knocks twice, and a moment later the door creaks open. A grizzled old man with a weathered face stands in the doorway, his eyes sharp despite his age. Lucilla, the man says with a nod. It's been a while. We need your help. Gaius, Lucilla says, her voice calm but urgent. We've learned things, dangerous things. Gaius glances over at you, his eyes flickering with recognition. Then he steps aside to let you in. Inside the room is dim, lit only by the glow of a single oil lamp. The walls are cluttered with old maps, scrolls, and strange symbols, pieces of information scattered like breadcrumbs. A single table dominates the center of the room, and Gaius gestures for you both to sit. so he begins settling down across from you. What is it that's shaking the city to its core? Lucilla doesn't hesitate. The imperial family. They're the ones behind all of this. They've been manipulating events for years, pulling strings, playing us all like puppets. Gaius doesn't blink. I thought as much. I've been hearing whispers about them. They've had their hands in everything for decades, but they've kept their true power hidden. You sit forward, gripping the edge of the table. But why now? Why the Senate, the Praetorians, the whole city? What do they want? Gaius leans back in his chair, folding his arms. They're positioning themselves to take back absolute control. The empire is fractured right now, and they see this as their chance to restore the bloodline to the throne, to push everyone else aside. He leans in, lowering his voice. They've been waiting for the right moment, and I think they've found it. A chill runs down your spine. Severus Lucilla mutters. He's their pawn. The Senate was just a distraction. Gaius nods grimly. Exactly. They've been playing a long game, and now it's coming to fruition. But they're not just aiming for control of the Senate. They're after the heart of Rome, the people, the army, the power to rule with an iron fist. A deep silence hangs in the air. So what now, you ask, your voice hoarse? Gaius looks at you, his gaze hard. You're not going to like it, but you'll need to go to the imperial palace. There's a vault beneath it. Inside is a record one that links them directly to the plots you've uncovered. If you can get to it, you'll have the proof you need. You blink. The imperial palace. How do you expect us to get in there? He shrugs, the action a bit too casual for your liking. It won't be easy. But with the right distractions, you might have a chance. Just be prepared. Once you take that vault, they'll know, and they'll come for you. Hard. Lucilla nods, already planning her next move. We'll need a strategy, a quick raid, and we'll need the Praetorians distracted. Gaius leans forward again, his eyes narrowing. There's a tournament coming up, a grand spectacle. Gladiators' games, all the usual pomp. The perfect opportunity to strike. Use it. Lucilla's face hardens. I hate the games. But if it gives us a chance, it's your best chance, Gaius confirms. And you'll need it. The family has eyes everywhere, even here. You're about to speak, but Gaius holds up a hand. But don't get ahead of yourselves. The vault won't be easy to open. You'll need the right keys, the right combination of people inside, the right distractions. The pieces are falling into place, but you can't ignore the feeling of dread that coils in your stomach. A raid on the imperial palace. You thought you were on the front lines of something dangerous before, but this is the heart of the storm. Lucilla stands decisiveness, returning to her posture. We'll gather our people, and we'll move at dawn. You stand too, though it feels like your legs are made of lead. We're risking everything for this. That's what makes it worth it, Lucilla replies quietly. Gaius watches you both leave, his face unreadable. When the door closes behind you, the weight of the decision settles. You can't back out now, but the question remains. Will you get there in time? The air is thick with tension. As you ride through the streets of Rome, Lucilla leading the way. The city seems deceptively peaceful in the early morning light, with vendors already setting up their stalls and children running through the cobbled roads. You can almost forget the looming chaos if you try hard enough, but the feeling of dread gnaws at you. This mission is unlike any other, and you know it's only going to get worse. The imperial palace, home to the bloodline that has held sway over Rome for centuries, is right in front of you now, a massive, imposing structure that feels like a fortress. Every stone, every guard, every whispered word feels like it's woven into a larger tapestry of control and power. You glance over at Lucilla. She's silent, her face drawn with a quiet resolve, though you can tell the weight of what's ahead is heavy even for her. As much as she's tried to keep a steady hand on things, this mission has broken the last of her calm facade. No one who stands against the imperial family can ever truly rest easy. The plan is simple, but dangerously so. Slip into the palace grounds under the guise of the upcoming gladiatorial games. The games are the highlight of the season, and the attention they draw is your best cover. You'll blend in with the crowds, use the distractions of the spectacle to infiltrate the lower levels, and access the vault beneath the palace, where supposedly the records of the imperial family's treachery are locked away. The tournament, with its colorful banners and thundering crowds, will pull everyone's attention. For a fleeting moment, you can almost imagine the people of Rome forgetting about the perilous games of power being played above them. You reach the outer courtyard of the palace, where the excitement is palpable. Gladiators are already preparing for the upcoming bouts, flexing their muscles and sharpening their weapons. The sounds of leather creaking iron scraping and the chants of eager spectators fill the air. A few praetorians walk by, their armor gleaming in the sun. You swallow hard, keeping your face neutral. It's the perfect opportunity if you can stay unnoticed. Lucilla signals for you to follow her, leading you into a narrow alleyway on the far side of the courtyard. There, you meet up with the small group of loyal riders who had joined you earlier. Each of them is steeled for what's to come, though none of them speak. Words don't need to be said at this point. The weight of the mission is felt by all. Gaius said the vault is beneath the temple of Apollo, Lucilla whispers, leaning close. We need to get in undetected, avoid the guards. The fewer people we run into, the better. You nod. The less attention you draw, the better. But you're already acutely aware of how thin that line is. One wrong move, one misplaced glance, and everything will crumble. Together, you make your way through the shadowy passages of the palace, careful not to step where the guards might hear you. The faint sounds of the crowd echo from above, but they only heighten the tension. Each cheer, each shout, a reminder of how far you are from safety. As you approach the Temple of Apollo, the atmosphere shifts. It's darker here, quieter. The stone underfoot is slick with moisture, the only light coming from the flickering torches on the walls. The air smells faintly of incense, mingling with the scent of the stone itself. You stop before a set of heavy wooden doors. Lucilla takes a breath and gestures for everyone to prepare. You can see the unease in her face, but there's no turning back now. On my signal, she says. We move fast, and then, with a final glance at each other, you push through the door. Inside the vault is surprisingly unguarded, which doesn't sit well with you. You were expecting resistance, perhaps a few silent sentries, or even some traps. But this place is eerily quiet. It feels like stepping into the belly of a beast. The walls of the vault are lined with shelves of scrolls, wax seals, and parchment, each piece a silent witness to the machinations of the imperial family. You begin to understand just how much history, how much power is contained within these walls. The vault wasn't just for records. It's a reminder. The family controls Rome through every document, every secret tucked away behind closed doors. Lucilla's voice breaks the silence, low and urgent. We need to find the ledger, the one that has the names. You nod, moving quickly, scanning the rows of scrolls. Your fingers trail over the parchment, the texture smooth but dry, the ink faded in places. You pull open scroll after scroll, reading only fragments before setting them aside. Nothing, not the right one. Your heartbeat accelerates with every passing second. The tension is unbearable, and you can feel your pulse in your throat, in your fingertips. This is it. If you can't find the ledger, if you can't prove the imperial family's involvement, then everything will have been for nothing. And then a sound. A footstep. You freeze, heart thumping wildly in your chest. Someone's coming, and they're getting closer. Your fingers tighten around the scroll you're holding, the weight of your decision pressing down like a boulder on your chest. Do you risk it, or do you run? Lucilla's voice cuts through the tension, calm but urgent. We're out of time. Find it now. You glance around. There. A scroll tucked in the corner, wrapped in a golden ribbon. You grab it without hesitation and unfurl it. The ledger. It's the one. The names. The plans. The final piece to the puzzle. But before you can even take a breath of relief, the door slams open. The guard has arrived, and you've been caught. The guard stands in the doorway, his shadow stretching across the vault like a dark omen. You freeze, heart racing, every instinct screaming for you to flee. But it's too late. The door has been opened, and you can't outrun what's coming next. The guard's eyes fall on you, and for a brief, terrifying moment, there's nothing but silence. His gaze flickers between you and the scroll in your hands, his jaw tightening as realization dawns. He knows what you're holding, and he knows exactly what it means. But he doesn't shout, doesn't move immediately. Instead, his gaze hardens, and he steps further into the room, slowly, methodically, as if he's waiting for the right moment to strike. You instinctively reach for your dagger, but Lucilla's hand shoots out, staying your arm. Her eyes are wide, and she shakes her head slightly. She's calculating, thinking. Her voice is barely a whisper, the tension in it sharp and immediate. Don't do anything rash. If we kill him, there's no coming back from that. The words hang in the air, thick with finality. A death here would alert everyone in the palace. There would be no escape, no way to cover your tracks. But just standing there exposed feels like a death sentence in itself. The guard steps closer. You're bold, he says, his voice rough, like he's seen too many things to care. But you're also stupid. You don't respond, trying to keep your expression neutral, your breath steady. You can hear your heartbeat in your ears, each thud loud enough to drown out the world around you. Lucilla's eyes dart to the doorway, calculating your options. The silence between you all grows unbearable until the guard takes another step forward. You think you can just waltz in here, steal the records, and waltz out again. His voice rises just a touch, as if daring you to answer. This is the Imperial Palace. You don't get to make demands here. You clench your fists around the scroll, the gold ribbon pressing into your palms, but you don't speak. Not yet. This isn't the time for bravado. You're outnumbered, outclassed, and with a single wrong move you could be dead. And then to your surprise, Lucilla speaks. You're right. We're not here to make demands, she says, her voice calm and steady as if she's speaking to a friend. We're here because we have something the family needs, something that could change everything. The guard's eyes narrow, and he glances at the scroll again, suspicion flickering in his gaze. Lucilla steps forward, moving with deliberate slowness, her hands open, showing no weapon. What we have in this scroll is the truth. The truth about how the imperial family has been playing the Senate, the Praetorians, and every one of us. Do you think they'll let you live once they've finished using you? They'll burn you, just like they burned the rest of us. The guard's expression shifts slightly. It's subtle, but you catch it, the briefest flicker of doubt crossing his face. It's enough to make your heart skip a beat. But you don't say anything. You don't break the silence. Lucilla takes one more step toward him. We don't want to kill you. She continues, her voice now lower, more intimate, like she's telling him a secret. But if you try to stop us, we won't hesitate. We can all be replaced. The guard seems to hesitate for a fraction of a second, long enough for you to feel a spark of hope flare within you. Then, with a quick movement, he steps aside. His eyes never leave you as he presses his lips together. Not quite smiling, not quite scowling. But there's something in his gaze, something that feels like a silent acknowledgement of your shared predicament. You're lucky, he mutters. The family doesn't care about the little people like me. You'll get away this time, but don't think you're fooling anyone. With a final glance, he turns and walks away, leaving you standing there breathless and incredulous. Lucilla exhales sharply, her shoulders sagging in relief, and she nods to you. Let's go. Now. You barely register the motion as she leads you toward the exit, the scroll still clutched tightly in your hand. You feel the weight of it now heavier than ever, as if the secrets it contains are pressing down on your chest. You've escaped, but you can't shake the feeling that it's only temporary. You know better than anyone that in Rome, power is never far behind. The fact that the guard let you go means something else, something more dangerous. Once you're out of the palace, the morning sun feels sharper, harsher than it did just hours before. The games are in full swing now, the sounds of cheering and the clash of swords filling the air. But it all seems distant now, like it's happening on another world. Lucilla doesn't slow down as you make your way back through the streets, but you can tell she's thinking, planning. Every move has to be precise. Every decision must count. You've just uncovered the first layer of the imperial family's web, but there's still so much more to uncover. And even now, as you escape the palace, you can feel their eyes on you. Not the guards you just passed, but someone more dangerous. Someone who's been watching the game from the shadows. You know we're not safe, Lucilla says softly, her voice carrying the weight of a long-fought truth. Not until we take them down. You nod. The road ahead is long, and you're only just beginning to understand the depth of the conspiracy. But for the first time since this started, you feel a flicker of hope. You've survived the first test, but that doesn't mean you're out of the woods yet. The city of Rome stretches before you, its ancient stones, bathed in the late morning light, a beautiful paradox, breathtaking in its glory, yet suffocating in its weight. You've been running for what feels like hours, but in reality, it's only been minutes since you slipped out of the palace. Lucilla leads you through winding alleys, the scent of fresh bread and roasting meats mixing with the dust kicked up by your hurried footsteps. Despite the adrenaline surging through your veins, the reality of your situation is sinking in. The guard may have let you go, but that doesn't mean you're safe. Not by a long shot. You know there's more to this, far more than you've uncovered so far. The scroll you carry feels like a ticking time bomb in your hands. You glance over at Lucilla. Her face is set eyes, scanning every corner, every shadow, every passing face. She's determined, but there's a flicker of unease in her gaze. You can sense it. She knows the stakes just as well as you do. She doesn't say a word, but you both understand the reality of what you've just taken on. We're not out of their reach yet. She finally says, her voice low, betraying the urgency in her tone. The real danger starts now. We can't hide forever. Her words make your stomach drop, but they're not unexpected. You've known from the start that there would be no easy escape, but you hadn't truly grasped the magnitude of what you were up against. The imperial family isn't just a group of power-hungry individuals. It's an entire system, a machine designed to crush anything in its way, and you've just poked a hole in it. You turn a corner, and the bustling market street opens up before you. It's a momentary reprieve from the chaos, but you can feel the eyes on you. The vendors are too busy hawking their wares, but the people around you seem to pause for just a second too long, as if they're aware that something's off. You want to shake the feeling that you're being watched. But the truth is, you probably are. We need to get to the docks, Lucilla says, breaking the silence. There's a contact waiting for us. He's the one who can help us get out of the city. You nod, the urgency of her words pushing you forward. The docks are far from where you stand now, but there's no time to waste. Every moment you linger could be a moment closer to being caught. As you make your way through the city, the reality of what you're up against grows sharper. The name of the imperial family holds more weight than you ever realized. The elite may control the Senate and the legions, but the people, those who have long been pawns in this game of power, are starting to take notice. Some look at you with curiosity, some with fear. You can sense it like a silent ripple through the crowd. It's only a matter of time before this information spreads, and once it does, the family will move to silence it. But even that isn't the most pressing issue right now. What's really bothering you is the scroll burning in your hands. The names, the plans. Everything you've risked so much for is now contained in that fragile, ancient piece of parchment. You've seen the truth about the imperial family's games, but the question remains, what will you do with that truth once it's exposed? Lucilla quickens her pace and you follow her, trying to focus on the road ahead. The docks aren't far now. You just need to stay under the radar a little longer. As you round another corner, your stomach lurches. There's something familiar about the face coming toward you just a few steps ahead. Something about the way the man's eyes seem to follow you, studying you too intently. He's not just another passerby. You pull Lucilla to a stop, heart racing as the man's gaze locks onto yours. It's a brief, piercing glance, but it's enough to send a chill down your spine. He doesn't look like a soldier, not at first glance, but something in his stance tells you that he's no simple merchant. He smiles just a little. It's a subtle gesture, but in the way he does it, there's a coldness beneath the surface. He knows. You don't wait to see if he's going to make a move. Lucilla is already pulling you into a nearby alley, and you can hear the man's footsteps following just behind you. It's not a coincidence. He's not just looking at you, he's watching you, waiting for the moment to strike. The tension is unbearable, the seconds stretching into an eternity as you try to figure out what to do next. You know that running is the only option, but where to every shadow feels like it's hiding something worse than the last. The city itself feels alive with danger, every turn an invitation to doom. Lucilla grips your arm, her voice a harsh whisper. We can't outrun him. Not with the scroll. We need a plan. But before you can even process what she means, the man's voice cuts through the alleyway. I think it's time we had a little chat. You freeze. His voice is calm, too calm, like he's done this 1,000 times before. The hairs on the back of your neck stand on end. This man is no ordinary spy or hired muscle. This man is something else entirely. And suddenly, you realize you've walked right into his trap. Who are you? Lucilla demands, her voice steady despite the situation. You can hear the edge of steel in her words, the quiet warning beneath the calm. The man steps forward, his boots tapping softly against the cobblestone. His eyes glint with something you can't quite place, amusement. Maybe he seems to enjoy this game, toying with you both. You don't recognize me. His voice is rich, smooth, dripping with arrogance. How disappointing. I thought you'd be smarter than that. There's no way to know what's coming next. But, you know, one thing for certain, this is far from over. And you're not sure how much longer you can stay one step ahead. The man steps closer. His boots crunching softly against the cobblestone, each step echoing in the narrow alley like a countdown. You can feel his gaze on you, sharp, calculating. Every inch of your body is screaming for you to run, but your feet are frozen to the ground. This is no random encounter. He knows too many details about you, about your mission, about the scroll. Lucilla's grip on your arm tightens. You can feel the pulse of tension between you both. She's assessing him, weighing her options. This is no stranger. You can sense the recognition in her stiff posture. You're with the family. Lucilla says, her voice laced with an edge you haven't heard before. The implication hangs in the air, and you feel the temperature of the alley drop a few degrees. The man, who has yet to reveal his identity, smirks. There's no denying the satisfaction in his expression. "Smart woman," he says, his voice dripping with mock approval. "You're correct, of course. I've got a few connections." His lips curl into something that might have been a smile, but there's a darkness in his eyes that makes you uneasy. Lucilla doesn't back down. "Why are you following us?" The man chuckles, and the sound is more chilling than you would have expected. He crosses his arms over his chest and leans against the alley wall as if this is some kind of casual conversation, as if you weren't holding a scroll that could shake the foundations of the empire itself. Well, he starts drawing the word out, slowly savoring the moment. "I wasn't following you per se. I was waiting. A little bird told me you'd be coming this way. After all, you've stolen something that belongs to the family. So, naturally, they'd like it back." You grip the scroll tighter, the cool parchment pressing into your palm, the weight of it suddenly feeling unbearable. It's not just a piece of paper, it's a weapon. And this man knows exactly how dangerous it is. You'll have to do better than that, you say. Though you're not sure why you're even speaking. What can you say to someone who already knows too much? You're stalling, and you know it. His eyes flicker with amusement, and for a moment you think he's going to laugh. "Oh, I'm sure you'll try. You're good at stalling, I'll give you that. But trust me, I'm not the one you need to be worried about." Lucilla takes a step forward, her voice low and threatening. "Who are you?" The man doesn't flinch, doesn't even blink. Ah, the mystery. Always so satisfying, isn't it? He seems to enjoy this, his calm, confident demeanor, in contrast to your growing panic. He shifts slightly, eyes never leaving you. "You can call me Decimus, and while I might not be the most important person in the family's little operation, I certainly have my uses. And right now, I'm here to make sure you don't get any more ideas about taking that scroll anywhere. Decimus." The name lands heavily in the air, but it means nothing to you. You've never heard of him, not in any meaningful way, but it's clear from the way he speaks that he has power. Influence. He pushes off the wall and steps closer, his posture casual, but his presence menacing. You think you can outsmart the family, you're running out of time. You've already made too many moves, too many mistakes. You take a breath, trying to steady yourself. What do you want? The question feels weak, but you can't afford to back down now. Lucilla is right beside you, her own expression hardening, and though she doesn't say it aloud, you can feel her weighing the same thing you are. What does he want? Why is he here? Well, isn't that the million-dollar question, Decimus says with a smile that never reaches his eyes. I'm not here for small talk. I'm here to make sure things go smoothly. You don't want to cause any more complications, do you? His words carry an unspoken threat. You know better than to think he's here to make deals. This is intimidation. This is a warning. Lucilla stands her ground, her voice unwavering. And what happens if we don't give it to you? Oh, I wouldn't worry about that. Decimus says, his smile turning cold. You'll give it to me eventually, because no one outsmarts the family, not in the long run. He steps closer, and you feel the full weight of his presence bearing down on you. He's sizing you up, reading your every move like a predator watching its prey. The air between you all seems to thicken, the tension palpable. And in that moment, you realize just how precarious your situation is. But just as the dread starts to settle in your bones, Lucilla's voice breaks through the silence, and she speaks with calm defiance, a final warning. We're not giving it to you, not without a fight. Decimus raises an eyebrow, clearly entertained. Is that so? I've seen this kind of thing before. You're playing a dangerous game. And soon the stakes will be higher than you can imagine. His words hang in the air, but before you can react, a voice cuts through the alley, sharp and demanding. Decimus. The figure that appears in the entrance to the alley is tall, cloaked, and moving with the fluidity of someone who has spent years mastering control. You don't see his face at first, but you can feel the presence, his authority, his control. Decimus looks up at the newcomer, his eyes narrowing in something that might be called respect, but there's also a thread of fear woven through it. He stands straighter, less casual now, as if the ground under his feet has shifted. "Ah, Decimus," says his voice suddenly laced with a forced politeness, "didn't expect you." The cloaked figure doesn't speak right away. Instead, he steps forward, the movement silent but commanding. He's not a person to be underestimated, and the shift in Decimus's demeanor tells you everything you need to know. This is someone important. Someone more dangerous than the man you're dealing with now. You've overstayed your welcome. The cloaked figure says, his voice low and controlled like a storm just below the surface. Decimus hesitates, then steps back, eyes flicking between the two of you. The situation has changed in an instant, and now you feel the weight of it. Whatever this man's game is, it's not about to end here. The cloaked figure's gaze falls on you for the first time, and for a moment the world seems to hold its breath. "Move along, Decimus," the cloaked figure orders. "We have a different arrangement now." And just like that, the tension shifts, and Decimus, with one last lingering glance, turns and walks away without a word. You're left in stunned silence, your breath catching in your chest as the cloaked figure steps fully into the alley. His presence is all-encompassing, suffocating, and you can't help but feel a shiver crawl down your spine. He looks at Lucilla, then at you, and his next words hang heavy between you all. "This isn't over," he says, his tone colder than anything you've heard so far. Not by a long shot. The cloaked figure stands before you, his presence filling the alleyway in a way that feels almost oppressive. His eyes, hidden in the shadow of his hood, seem to take in everything about you, as if he's calculating your every move, every thought. You try to steady your breath, but it's difficult. This man has the kind of authority that makes you want to shrink back, to retreat into the safety of the shadows. Lucilla doesn't flinch, but you can sense the shift in her body language. She's still, but the tension in her posture speaks volumes. She's not sure whether to trust this man, but one thing is clear. He's not someone you can just ignore. "Who are you?" Lucilla's voice is calm, but there's a note of steel beneath it. She's sizing him up just as much as he's sizing you both up. The man doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he shifts slightly, as if assessing the situation, as if deciding how much to reveal. For a long moment he says nothing, and you feel the weight of the silence stretch out thick and suffocating. Finally, he speaks. His voice is low, controlled, and carries an almost eerie sense of finality. "I'm someone who knows what you're up to." Your stomach drops at his words. He's not just an outsider. He's connected somehow, and that connection is something you can't quite grasp yet. Lucilla steps forward, her eyes narrowing. "And why would you be interested in us?" The cloaked man tilts his head, his hands still folded in front of him. "Because you're playing a dangerous game," he says simply, "and you're in way over your head." The air between you feels thick with threat, but there's something in his demeanor, something about the way he stands that keeps you from running. Maybe it's because you don't have anywhere to go. Maybe it's because deep down you know he's right. "You're wrong," Lucilla says, her voice sharp. "We have a plan." The cloaked man chuckles softly, but the sound is devoid of amusement. "A plan. A plan against the family. You don't even know what you're up against." His words strike you like a slap, and for a moment you're left speechless. The family is far more than what you'd imagined, more powerful, more entrenched in every corner of Roman society. They're not just about politics or wealth. They're a shadow that stretches into everything, even the parts of the city you thought were safe. You think you're the first to try this. The cloaked man continues, his voice quiet but heavy with experience. There have been others. Others who thought they could outsmart the Empire, who believed they could make a difference. They didn't last. Lucilla's jaw clenches, but she doesn't back down. We're not the same as them. He looks at her, then really looks at her, and for the first time his gaze softens just a fraction. It's brief, so brief that you wonder if you imagined it. But it's enough to make you realize that there's more to this man than meets the eye. He's not just an agent of the family, not just some mindless enforcer. I don't doubt that he says finally, his voice losing some of its edge. But it won't matter. You'll be crushed just like the rest of them. You've already made too many enemies. The family will hunt you down until there's nothing left of you. You feel a chill crawl up your spine as his words settle into your mind. What are you really up against? You thought you knew, but the deeper you go, the more you realize how little you understand about the forces pulling the strings in this city. Lucilla opens her mouth to argue, but the cloaked man raises a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. You don't get it, do you? He says softly, his voice almost sympathetic. The family is a hydra. You cut off one head, and two more grow in its place. You can't win this battle by trying to fight it head-on. His words hang in the air, unsettling. You've heard whispers of corruption and conspiracy, but hearing it like this, so matter-of-fact, makes it all the more real. We're not here to fight the family, Lucilla says, a flicker of resolve in her voice. We're here to expose them, to let the people see what they really are. The cloaked man's eyes narrow slightly, but he doesn't laugh. Instead, he steps closer to you both, his gaze flickering from Lucilla to the scroll you've been holding so tightly. His attention lingers on the parchment as if it's the only thing that matters. You really think the people don't already know, he asks. His voice is almost a whisper now, like he's revealing a secret. They know. They've always known. The Empire isn't about to fall because of one little scroll. His words hit you harder than you expected. The idea that the people might already be aware, that they might already understand the corruption at the heart of Rome, leaves you momentarily speechless. But Lucilla isn't deterred. Then we give them something they can use. She says, her voice firm. Something they can't ignore. The cloaked man's eyes linger on her, and for a long moment it feels like the world is holding its breath. Then, finally, he steps back, seeming to make a decision. You're bold, he says, almost approvingly. I'll give you that. You feel a flicker of hope, but it's quickly smothered by the weight of his next words. But boldness doesn't win battles in this city. It takes more than courage. It takes power. He turns away, then, the shadows of his cloak shifting like smoke. And right now, you don't have enough of it. The man pauses at the mouth of the alley, his back still to you. But you might, he adds, his voice carrying back to you like a lingering echo, if you're willing to make a deal. Lucilla stiffens beside you, but before either of you can react, he's gone, disappearing into the crowd as if he was never there. You stand in the alley for a moment, unsure of what to make of the encounter. The street outside continues on, oblivious to what just transpired. But nothing feels the same now. The world around you seems darker, more threatening. Lucilla turns to you, her expression unreadable. We need to decide what to do next. You nod, but the question hangs in the air between you both. What now? And more importantly, who can you trust? The story is over. See you tomorrow night. Sweet dreams.